First contact at the edge of space. Captain Marcus Red stared through the viewport of the exploration vessel Horizon's Dawn as an alien ship materialized from hyperspace. 3 years of deep space missions had prepared him for many things, but not for this moment. The vessel before them was elegant, crystalline, unlike anything in human design databases. "Captain, they're broadcasting on multiple frequencies," reported Communications Officer Julie Nakamura. Her fingers danced across the console as she tried to decode the signals. "It's beautiful, sir, like music." The alien ship held position, neither advancing nor retreating. Marcus had studied first contact protocols extensively, but theory felt inadequate now. He was about to make history, and the weight of humanity's future pressed on his shoulders. "Open a channel," he ordered. "All frequencies." The response came immediately. The main screen flickered, revealing a being that took Marcus's breath away. She was humanoid but ethereal, with translucent skin that seemed to glow with inner light. Her eyes held depths that reminded him of nebulae, swirling with colors he couldn't name. "I am Zephyra of the Luminari," she spoke, her voice harmonizing like wind chimes. "We have watched your species reach toward the stars with such determination. Such ... passion." Marcus felt his heart skip. Professional training warred with something deeper, more primal. "I'm Captain Marcus Reed, representing Earth's Deep Space Exploration Command. We come in peace." Zephyra's expression shifted, something almost like a smile crossing her features. "Peace is not what concerns me, Marcus Reed. Your species radiates something our people have forgotten. You call it hope, do you not?" The conversation continued for hours. Zephyra explained that the Luminari were ancient, their civilization spanning millennia. They had achieved technological marvels, but had lost something essential along the way. They observed younger species, seeking to understand what they had sacrificed for their advancement. "Your people fascinate us," Zephyra admitted during a quiet moment. "You are so brief, so fragile, yet you burn with such intensity. When we detected your ship, I volunteered to make contact because I needed to understand." Marcus found himself leaning forward, drawn to her presence even through the screen. "Understand what?" "How you can face the vastness of space, knowing your lives are so short, yet still reach for the impossible." Her gaze seemed to pierce through him. "How you can love so fiercely when you know loss is inevitable." The question hung between them like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Marcus realized this wasn't just first contact between civilizations. This was something far more personal, more dangerous. He was beginning to care about this ethereal being in ways that could complicate everything. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we could discuss this further, in person." Zephyra's luminescent features brightened. "I was hoping you would ask the meeting that changed everything." The neutral space station orbiting the dead world of Kepler 442c had been hastily constructed for this historic meeting. Marcus stood in the pristine white corridor, adjusting his dress uniform for the third time. Ambassador Thornfield from Earth's diplomatic corps paced nearby, reviewing protocols on his datapad. "Remember, Captain," Thornfield muttered, "you're here as military escort only. I handle all negotiations." Marcus nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. 3 days had passed since that first conversation with Zephyra, and he hadn't been able to forget the way her voice had made the emptiness of space feel less lonely. The airlock hissed open, and Marcus's breath caught. Zephyra stepped through, no longer just an image on a screen, but a living presence that seemed to make the sterile station feel warmer. She wore flowing robes that shifted like liquid starlight, and her movements held a grace that defied the artificial gravity. "Ambassador Thornfield," she greeted formally, then her gaze found Marcus. "Captain Reed." The way she said his name sent warmth through his chest. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the diplomatic mission faded into background noise. The formal meetings were endless. Trade agreements, technology exchanges, territorial boundaries. Marcus stood at attention while Thornfield and the Luminari delegation discussed details that would shape the future of both species. But his attention kept drifting to Zephyra, who seemed equally distracted. During a recess, she approached him. "Your species negotiates with such passion," she observed. "Even in formal discussions, you cannot hide your emotions. Is that a weakness?" Marcus asked. "I thought so, until I met you." Her hand brushed his arm, and the touch sent electricity through him. "My people have spent so long controlling every aspect of ourselves that we've forgotten what it means to feel." They found themselves walking together through the station's observation deck, watching the stars wheel slowly past the massive windows. The diplomatic teams were in another session, giving them precious time alone. "Zephyra," Marcus began, then stopped. The words he wanted to say felt too large, too dangerous. "Speak freely," she encouraged. "Your directness is refreshing." He turned to face her fully, his heart pounding. "Would it be wrong to love you? I know we're different species, different worlds, but when I look at you..." The question hung in the air between them like a challenge to the universe itself. Zephyra's luminescent features shifted through expressions he was learning to read. Surprise, then something deeper. "Love," she repeated the word like she was tasting something new. "My people have words for affection, for partnership, for biological compatibility. But love requires vulnerability. It requires accepting that another being matters more than your own safety." "Yes," Marcus whispered. Zephyra stepped closer, close enough that he could see the starlight patterns shifting beneath her translucent skin. "Then perhaps it would be wrong not to love you," Marcus rayed. "Perhaps that is exactly what my people have forgotten how to do." Her answer changed everything. The diplomatic mission suddenly felt like a distant concern compared to the impossible connection forming between them. When worlds collide, the emergency klaxon shattered the peaceful evening aboard the diplomatic station. Marcus rushed to the command center, where red warning lights bathed everything in an ominous glow. On the main screen, a massive fleet of angular, dark ships was dropping out of hyperspace. "Valdorian Empire," Zephyra breathed, her usual calm shattered. "They must have detected our meeting." Commander Patricia Wells, the station's military chief, was barking orders. "All defensive systems online. Send immediate distress signals to Earth and Luminari fleets." Marcus grabbed Zephyra's arm. "What do we need to know about the Valdorians?" "They are conquerors," she replied, her voice tight with fear. "They view any alliance between species as a threat to their expansion. They will try to destroy this station and everyone on it." The first enemy salvo rocked the station. Marcus felt the deck plating vibrate under his feet as energy shields absorbed the impact. Through the viewport, he could see smaller Valdorian ships peeling away from the main fleet, moving to surround them. "Estimated time until Earth reinforcements arrive?" Marcus asked. 18 hours, Wells replied grimly. "Luminary fleet is 22 hours out. And how long can our shields hold?" "Maybe 4 hours if we're lucky." Marcus looked at Zephyra, seeing his own determination reflected in her ethereal features. In that moment, he realized something that would have terrified him a week ago, but now felt like the most natural thing in the universe. He would die for her, for this chance at something beautiful between their species. "There has to be another way," he muttered, studying the tactical display. Zephyra suddenly straightened. "The station's power core. If we could overload it, create a controlled explosion, ... That's suicide," Wells protested. "No," Marcus said, understanding immediately. "Not if we evacuate everyone to the escape pods first. The explosion would take out the Valdorian forward ships, buy time for the fleets to arrive. And who stays behind to trigger the overload?" Wells asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. Marcus and Zephyr exchanged glances. "We do," they said simultaneously. The next hour was chaos. Diplomatic staff, crew members, and luminary delegates packed into escape pods. Marcus and Zephyr remained on the bridge, their hands linked as they watched their friends and colleagues flee to safety. "If we survive this," Marcus said quietly, "what happens to us? To our species?" "If we survive this," Zephyr replied, "we will have proven that love is stronger than fear, that some things are worth any sacrifice." The Valdorian ships closed in, their weapons charging for a final assault. Marcus's finger hovered over the overload sequence. This wasn't how he'd imagined dying, but he couldn't think of anyone he'd rather face the end with. "Together?" he asked. "Together," she confirmed as his finger descended toward the control. A brilliant flash filled the viewport. Human and luminary ships erupted from hyperspace, their combined firepower turning the tide of battle in seconds. They had been saved, but more importantly, they had been willing to die for each other. That changed everything between them, and between their worlds, the price of love across the stars. 3 months after the Valdorian attack, Marcus stood in the gardens of New Geneva, Earth's diplomatic capital. The summit between humanity and the Luminari had been a success beyond anyone's expectations. Trade routes were established, scientific exchanges planned, and a mutual defense pact signed. But none of that mattered to Marcus as much as the figure walking toward him through the blooming cherry trees. Zephyr had agreed to stay on Earth for 6 months as a cultural ambassador. Seeing her here, among the flowers and under the blue sky of his homeworld, made his chest tight with emotion. She seemed more solid somehow, less ethereal, as if Earth's heavier gravity and denser atmosphere were giving her more substance. "Your planet is beautiful," she said, joining him on the bench overlooking the lake. "So much life, so much variety. It reminds me why your species burns so brightly. And your reaction to it reminds me why we need to burn brighter," Marcus replied. "Being with you makes me want to be better than I am." They had spent the past months learning about each other in ways that went beyond species differences. Marcus discovered that Zephyr laughed like silver bells when surprised, that she found human music almost overwhelming in its emotional intensity, and that she worried constantly about her people's reaction to their relationship. "The Luminary Council is concerned," she admitted no. "They believe emotional attachments cloud judgment. They fear I am compromised. Are you?" Marcus asked. She turned to face him fully, completely. "And I have never been more clear-headed in my life." The controversy surrounding their relationship had become galactic news. Some humans saw it as the ultimate expression of diplomatic success. Others worried about the implications of such personal entanglements between species. The Luminari were more divided, with younger members fascinated by the concept of passionate love and older members viewing it as a dangerous regression. "There's something I need to tell you," Marcus said, pulling a small device from his pocket. "Earth Command offered me a promotion. Admiral, in charge of the new interspecies relations fleet." Zephyr's expression flickered between hope and concern. "That is wonderful, Marcus. You deserve such recognition. It would mean spending most of my time in space, between worlds, away from Earth." He paused, gathering courage. "Away from everything familiar except you." Understanding dawned in her. Luminous eyes. "You would do that? Leave your homeworld?" "Zephyr, 3 months ago you asked me if it would be wrong to love you. Now I have a different question." Marcus slid off the bench, dropping to one knee. The small device in his hand projected a holographic ring, crafted from both human diamonds and luminary crystal matrices. "Would it be wrong to spend eternity loving you?" Her hand flew to her mouth, an expression of shock that translated perfectly across species lines. "Marcus, My people don't have marriage customs like yours. What you're proposing ... I'm proposing we write new customs. Together, for both our species. Tears that shimmered like liquid starlight rolled down her cheeks. The Luminary Council will say I am betraying my species. And Earth Command might say the same about me. But sometimes the greatest acts of love require the greatest acts of courage. Zephyra knelt beside him, taking his hands in hers. Then yes, Marcus Reed. Yes to eternity. Yes to writing new customs. Yes to showing both our peoples that love doesn't weaken us. It gives us something worth fighting for. As she spoke, the holographic ring solidified around her finger, a symbol of two species learning to love beyond the boundaries of worlds. Love that reshapes the galaxy 5 years later, Admiral Marcus Reed stood on the bridge of the USS Unity, the first ship designed jointly by human and luminary engineers. Beside him, Ambassador Zephyra Reed monitored communications from 17 different species, now part of what had become known as the Harmony Alliance. Their marriage had indeed changed everything, but not in ways anyone had expected. Incoming transmission from the Zelthari homeworld, reported Lieutenant Zhang from Communications. They're requesting membership in the Alliance. Marcus smiled. The Zelthari were the 14th species to join their growing coalition, drawn not by military might or economic incentives, but by the example of cooperation and emotional connection that he and Zephyra represented. Another species that wants what we have, Zephyra observed, her hand finding his. Even after 5 years, her touch still sent warmth through him. And what do we have? Marcus asked, though he knew the answer. Hope, she replied. Proof that different doesn't mean incompatible. That love can bridge any gap. The early years of their marriage had been challenging. There were protests on both Earth and Luminar Prime. Zealots from various species claimed their union was unnatural, dangerous, a corruption of pure bloodlines. But for every voice of hatred, 10 more spoke up in support. Young Luminari began experiencing emotions their elders had long suppressed. Humans started approaching relationships with the deeper spiritual connection the Luminari possessed. Other species, watching this transformation, wanted to understand how two people from different worlds could create something greater than the sum of their parts. Admiral, called Commander Okonkwo from the tactical station. We're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. The holographic display showed President Williams in the Oval Office, her expression serious but pleased. Admiral Reed, Ambassador Reed, I have news. The Galactic Senate has formally recognized the Harmony Alliance as a legitimate governing body. You are now officially representing 47 star systems. Marcus felt Zephyra squeeze his hand. They had never set out to build an interstellar government. They had simply loved each other, openly, honestly, and that love had become a beacon for species across the galaxy, seeking something more than near survival. There's more, President Williams continued. The Valdorian Empire has requested a ceasefire and diplomatic talks. Apparently, they've been observing the Alliance and are curious about our methods. After the transmission ended, Marcus and Zephyra stood together in their private quarters, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed like cold, empty space, but like a garden of infinite possibilities. Do you ever regret it? Marcus asked. Leaving your people's way of life behind? I didn't leave it behind, Zephyra replied. I helped it evolve, just as you did with yours. She turned to face him, her luminescent features more beautiful than ever. When you asked me if it would be wrong to love you, neither of us knew we were asking if it would be wrong to change the galaxy. And the answer? The answer, she said, rising on her toes to kiss him, is that some love is so right it reshapes the universe itself. Outside their window, ships from dozens of species flew in formation, their crews working together, not because they had to, but because they had learned from two people that love, real, deep, transformative love, was the most powerful force in existence. The question that had started it all still echoed across the stars. Would it be wrong to love you? And the galaxy's answer, spoken in 1,000 languages and carried on solar winds to the edge of known space, was always the same. It would be wrong not to.